So I would love to have somebody here that wants to unpack something that's got some charge. Could be a judgment, could be some issue that's going on in the world right now where there's really divided opinions, and you look enthusiastic. Yes. No, I want you to come up. And give you this chair. And I kind of like a chair too. Let's see. For her. Do it. Hi, Roseanne. Roseanne McDonald. Excellent. Yeah, welcome, Roseanne McDonald.
Thank you.
So, is there a chair free floating around here? This front row one, is this one being used? Just so I have a sense that I'm not like standing over you.
Okay.
Great. Go ahead and have a seat. All right, so what do you have? Like, starting with a judgment.
This has to do with something that happened about 2.5 years ago with my mother, and she's still holding on to it.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like a Seinfeld episode. Here's the scenario. A really bad Seinfeld episode. My husband and my daughter, my very best, closest friend, gave me a surprise 50th birthday party. First time in my life anyone did anything like that for me. And my parents are elderly, but they were, of course, invited.
Mm-hmm.
And my husband invited them graciously and checked up on them. Well, what can we do to get you there? And my mom said, oh, don't worry about it. Well, that was her way of saying, you make all the arrangements and this and that. Well, of course, it was a surprise, so I knew nothing about it, right? So they were not at my party, which I understood. They're elderly, and I didn't expect that they would make the trip. So I understood.
So was the particular trigger, or can you identify a judgment? Are you saying you had a judgment of your parents?
No, what happened was that the following morning, it was a Sunday morning, and I called my mom I was all excited because I had all these wonderful friends that came long distances for me. And I says, oh, Mom, I know that you knew about my party, and I understand why you and Dad were not there, and it really was well. And she starts screaming at me and just yelling at me, which she had never done in her whole life, about, I can't believe I wasn't at my own daughter's party. And I says, well, I didn't know anything about it. It was a surprise. And I was up here on a high, and she brought me down as low as possible, as I allowed her to.
Mm-hmm.
And she basically made it all about her. She says, why didn't someone make arrangements to pick us up? Why didn't someone make arrangements for this and this and this and this? And this was all about her, because...
So the judgment or the trigger came up around your mom, though, here.
Yes, and then, so I spent the entire day, instead of looking through all my presents and having a happy day, I was very depressed and upset, and I was crying. And I allowed all of those negative emotions to take over me.
So
And
I want to start then with the observation, which is simply what she said, I'll be mom. Give me the trigger
you
statement.
sure don't look like her. Anyway.
I'll be mom, and I want you to do your best to hear what I am saying from a position of feelings and needs. And I'm going to have you do two things. One is, first, I want you to try responding with what comes up in you when you hear that, your observation, feeling, need, and request. And then I'm going to have you try it on looking at what's going on for her. Okay?
Okay, can I tell you the rest of the story, though? Because it's going to have a different impact, I think.
Yeah?
Because I was so upset that day, the following morning I'm on my cell phone to my best friend, who was one of the people putting on the party.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow, I guess because at the time I was technically challenged with a cell phone and incoming and outgoing calls, somehow my mother was calling at the same time my girlfriend was calling, and it got connected.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Sweet. Auntie.
That's the Seinfeld episode. I was crying and complaining to my best friend, not realizing I had just connected a conference call and my mother was on the other line. And this is my friend since I'm 6 years old, so there were no holds barred. I stated my feelings, and she, of course, came back with her feelings about my mother. Yeah.
And then you get back on the line with your mother.
Oh, I didn't know she was on. I had no idea she was on the line.
So when's the next time you talk with mom?
When I get a call from my brother from Ohio and saying, "What the heck did you say? Oh my God, Mom called me and she's appalled." And the following day, of course, she had her best friend drive her to her attorney's office and took me out of the will. So, and this happened 2.5 years ago, and